Good afternoon, Supervisor Lee.
Good afternoon, Rhonda.
Have a great meeting.
This is a courtesy announcement that we are now live on the internet.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Rhonda.
Good afternoon, President Wasserman. Sorry, did not mean to step over you.
No,
Hi,
I
Rhonda.
just wanted to
Good
introduce you
afternoon,
first.
Jeff. Good afternoon, Jeff, and good afternoon, Supervisor Chavez.
Hello.
And good afternoon, Supervisor Simidian.
Good afternoon. Let me just check that sound is fine.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Rhonda.
And your clerk today will be Nancy Guerrero.
Thank you very much. Right here, babe. Do, 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 do. All right, do I see Supervisor Lee? I do not.
He is here actually, sir.
He is here? There he is. Thank you very much. Looks like he's out on a beautiful day. All right. Nancy, thank you very much. Rhonda, Nancy, will you please take roll?
Sure. Supervisor Lee,
Present.
Supervisor Chavez.
Here.
Supervisor Semidian,
Here.
Vice President Ellenberg,
I'm here.
and President Wasserman.
Here as well. Thank you very much. And we're going to have Supervisor Lee lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance as we resume our budget workshop.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
And
and
to the republic
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
stands,
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to public comment, or anyone who wishes to speak about anything not on today's agenda may do so by raising their electronic hand. We'll give another few seconds here for people to join in. And Nancy, I'm seeing one. Do you see one as well?
I do.
Thank you. Will you please allow that person to speak for 3 minutes?
Sure can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our first speaker is Dolores Alvarado. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dolores Alvarado, and I represent the Community Health Partnership. I would like to commend the Board of Supervisors for taking time during yesterday's budget meeting to discuss the need to increase support for public health initiatives. I would ask that you consider including the nonprofit community health as a vital component of public health preventive services, as well as in response to future emergencies. Prevention at the community level via health education, community organizing, as well as environmental health policies can be very effective in reducing disease, increasing a neighborhood's emotional wellness, and avoiding additional healthcare costs. Please include the nonprofit community in your discussion when the time comes in the near future. Thank you very much, Board and Dr. Smith.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Irvish. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank you to all the Board of Supervisors for allowing the opportunity to speak. But I would like to mention about the Board of Supervisors meeting about bringing the Board of Supervisors and County of Santa Clara about ongoing changes with the presidential actions in terms of executive action that has been taken for the American Rescue Plan, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic response that has been provided to the California state, as well as County of Santa Clara. Also, I wanted to mention about the needs, along with the requirement that has been increasing over the course as the vaccination, COVID-19 vaccination of phase 1 and phase 2 being implemented. It is equally important to establish the resources where the County of Santa Clara Public Health Department be updating about what is the COVID-19 response team is updating in terms of pandemic response, and also providing the resources about the phase 1 and phase 2 vaccinations and education on what are the positive as well as the negative side effects of having the vaccination be taken, and what are the advantages that is to be adhered after doing a safer practices after taking the COVID-19 vaccination. Also, when talking about the COVID-19 vaccination, whether it would be safe to do certain activities, to go out, and also being equitable to the social activities required as to implement as a part of a process. Another set of action that as a part of a presidential action, as well as the governor's actions, governor's response to updating the legislative procedures, not just in terms of an act, but also in terms of where the county stands in terms of a response to the implementation of the right set of a program, and as well as implementing the international trade embargoes through the specific commissions, for example, the Federal Advocacy Task Force, implementing the presidential actions, international trade embargoes, international culture heritage programs and commission through the Federal Advocacy Task Force in order to put the county in the best foot forward position where they implement the actions as of which is being implemented within the jurisdiction and the legislative procedure of the country, United States of America, as well as the California state. Thank you.
And that concludes our public comment.
Thank you very much, Nancy. We now move on to, so that was item number 20. We move on to item 21, review the county exec's fiscal year 2021-22 recommended budget. And this will be Department of Child Support Services, in-home supportive services, and social services agencies. And anyone wishing to, Nancy, do we still have a speaker?
Looks like a hand just went up. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think these are speakers coming in now for item 21. If not, they can speak during item 21. So we'll start with item number 21 and turn to Dr. Smith. For Child Support, In-Home Support Services, and Social Services Agency.
Greg Ituria is going to take the lead in presenting this to the board.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Wasserman, members of the board. This is Greg Ituria, County Budget Director. And in our first session, or in the afternoon session, we're going to review the recommended budgets for departments that report up to the Children, Seniors, Families Policy Committee, as well as the ones that report up to Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee. And we will begin with the recommended actions for the Children, Seniors, Family related departments.
And Mr. Ituria, we're doing Department of Child Support Services, In-Home, and Social Services, correct?
Correct. So I'll go ahead and present those and then pause at the end of those at that point and see if there's any questions from the board, if that sounds good.
Thank you.
So for the Department of Child Support Services, the county executive's recommended appropriation is $30.3 million. It includes actions to balance the department's salaries, services and supplies accounts with that federal and state funding allocations. For the in-home supportive services, the recommended appropriation is at $241.9 million. This is to maintain the current level of budget. No recommended changes are presented in the recommended budget. For the Social Services Agency, the county executive's recommended appropriation is $802.5 million. And it includes recommended actions to align contracts and service and operational budgets with actual utilization and cost trends. It recommends adding staffing, services, and supplies for the operation of the Vietnamese American Services Center. It includes alignment of the translator position allocations with their funding. And it includes funding to maintain contracts administered by the Office of Immigrant Relations Services, the Early College Promise Program, and the Mobile Nutrition Program. So at this point, we can pause to see if there are questions of the Board of Supervisors on any of these recommended department budgets.
Thank you very much. First, I think we'll go to the public. And Nancy, let's set them up for 2 minutes each.
Okay, thank you. And we'll get our timer. set up here. Our first speaker is Michelle Vasquez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Vasquez, and I'm a board member with the Government Attorney Association. I'm speaking on behalf of 2 of the 3 attorneys that remain in the Department of Child Support Services. They could not be here because if they were, then a court calendar would have been canceled and clients in need of their child support would have suffered. The 3 attorneys still left in DCSS split approximately 30,000 cases per year. 30,000. How is that even remotely reasonable? The number of attorneys have been systematically cut from a high of 16 to now only 3. With those cuts, the DCSS has lost valuable expertise in areas such as obtaining international and interstate support orders, paternity cases, contempt cases where a party refuses to pay court-ordered support, and forensic financial expertise to assist in locating hidden assets. GAA requests that the 6 additional attorney positions be restored so that DCSS clients, who are overwhelmingly single women and their children, receive the support they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Max. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
My name is Max Zarzana. I am the president of the Government Attorneys Association. The last time I spoke to this board about DCSS, I stood in front of the supervisors during a budget meeting, and I objected to the DCSS director's plan to cut 4 filled attorney codes, which ended up resulting in 4 layoffs. Since then, there have been even more cuts to codes as they became vacant. And as you just heard, today we have 2 DCSS lawyers who are able to attend court in the department. GAA is asking this board to direct DCSS to hire 6 additional attorneys. GAA sent in a letter with some charts highlighting the fact that there are 30,000 cases at DCSS. The ratio of attorneys to cases is too high. Compared to other counties, we are the highest in the Bay Area with the most number of cases assigned per lawyer. Additional lawyers with additional areas of expertise need to be hired to bring that ratio down. Aside from the caseload, we are unable to even fully staff the courtrooms. The state of California has funded 2 departments to hear DCSS cases with judges and staff. Due to the ever-shrinking number of available attorneys, we are now only able to staff 1 courtroom. So the other court is now closed. But DCSS cannot even fully staff that 1 department. So recently, the judges have had to order that department to go dark and not set cases during several sessions every week through the summer. This is 100% due to the attorney staffing issue. So imagine if you were a mom trying to feed her family and you learned court had to be canceled because the department didn't hire enough lawyers. The state provides funding to DCSS, but it's up to the department head under direction of the board how that money should be spent. And I'm asking this board to direct 6 attorneys be hired. Thank you.
Our next speaker is R. Conda. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
President Wasserman and members of the Board of Supervisors, my name is Richard Conda, Executive Director of the Asian Law Alliance. I'd like to speak briefly on the immigrant outreach, legal representation, and unmet civil legal needs contracts administered by SSA and the Office of Immigrant Relations. First, thank you for your investment. There are 16 CBOs that provide these critical safety net services, protecting immigrant victims of domestic violence, helping people like our DACA clients obtain work authorization, assisting people qualify for federal safety net programs, keeping families housed by defending them against unlawful evictions, providing essential COVID-19 vaccination information to our clients, educating the community of the dangers of seeking legal advice from unscrupulous notarios or unscrupulous attorneys. As you recall, during our meetings with you or your staff, we shared the increasing demand for services due to the Biden administration's rescission of many of Trump's anti-immigrant policies, like the Muslim travel ban. The demand for our service will increase even more when the federal government enacts some form of immigration relief. We look forward to our partnership with you, and thank you again for your support.
And that concludes our public comment.
Thank you very much. I'll turn to supervisors if there's any questions on items 21, A, B, or C. If not, we'll consider the Supervisor Chavez.
Thank you. I want to start with child support services, and Ignacio, I know, Director Guerrero, I know you had a chance to hear the public. And I thought, if you don't mind, if you could talk a little bit about the issues relative to caseloads.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Thank you very much. Ignacio Guerrero, Director for the Department of Child Support Services. So the attorney staffing, when I first came to the office, we had 11 attorneys, and our caseload was obviously much higher then. And we were facing a significant deficit, not unlike what we've addressed this current fiscal year. A year ago, through the governor's May revise, he reduced our state funding by approximately 14%, which is a little over $5 million. So DCSS has not received an increase in our funding in well over 18 years. So every year our costs go up, and we stay either flat funded until most recently, where we actually had reduced funding. One of the challenges with this is being able to operate the department within the existing state funding allocation as costs increase every year. We had done a good job of stabilizing operations and staffing for the preceding 3 years, where we had about 6 attorneys that were holding down the fort for DCSS. We lost 2 attorneys during the voluntary separation incentive program. That was unexpected. And then we had a 3rd attorney retire. So it left us with 3. The one vacancy that we had that we're able to hire for is our lead attorney, because the 2 that were part of the voluntary separation incentive program were deleted as part of that program. We sped through recruitment, a comprehensive recruitment. I'm happy to report that we have made a hire. I made an offer to the lead attorney for Santa Cruz and San Benito County child support, who will be joining us. So we will be getting back to 4 attorneys. One of the attorneys in the unit has some restricted modifications, so they're not able to participate 100% in court like other attorneys. And so that's a challenge that we're dealing with right now. 4 attorneys by no means is ideal. It is extremely bare bones for us. But a little over a year ago, when we were trying to figure out how we were going to reconcile our budget cuts with operations, we were pretty sure we were going to have to do some significant layoffs. During the course of the year, we were fortunate in that we received some CARES funding reimbursement for disaster service work for a significant number of staff, which helped offset that. We also deleted all the vacant positions that we had at that time, which were about 25 or so. And in addition to that, we were successful in getting some one-time funding from the state for this current fiscal year. Even with those mitigation strategies, we are still projected to overspend our state funding allocation this year, and the cost will go up next year. So the challenge for the department is, how do you live in a world where costs go up every year, but the state is not giving you additional money to fund those operations on a year-to-year basis? What ends up happening is staffing gets reduced and operations are impacted. So I'm hopeful that we'll get back to 4 full-time attorneys, but like I said, it's extremely bare bones. It's not ideal. The court has worked with us during this time frame, given the unique circumstances that we're in, but I'm committed to working with them to see what we can do to get back to full operations on the court front.
So let me just share with my colleagues that this area is an area that I've been watching for a number of years for 2 reasons. One is that one is obvious, which is that we want to make sure that children and families can get resources from their families so that they're not required, frankly, to use public services when that's unnecessary. The second thing I would say is that we live in an area where we have a lot of people who owe child support, who have unique pay structures, including bonuses and other things, because we have a lot of folks who are working in technology. So the cases can be very complicated relative to how they get addressed. The other is, and I do just want to say that I think there was a state move to reduce the number of attorneys overall so that we were doing more to keep people out of court, try to do more mediation, try to get families to come to agreement. I think the pendulum has swung so far that the challenge we have now is that each of our attorneys has over 7,000 cases they're responsible for. And my concern is that we're not able to address the needs of the folks, the children who need our services. So with that, I have two requests that I want to make, and I will just say, I know I can already hear Dr. Smith saying no, so I'm just going to say to my colleagues, he's going to jump on that, and he has made a point, and this is actually a point that Supervisor Wasserman has made for years and years, which is that the the state really should be responsible for those things that they're supposed to be responsible for, and that includes funding this department. And to go 18 years without an increase is a crime, and it only hurts children, poor children, by the way. So I remain concerned about that. However, there are two requests I want to make of staff today before the final budget comes to us. And one is, I want to make sure that Harvey Rose has had a chance to look at this department to determine whether or not there are opportunities within the budget to with vacant codes to be able to hire on more attorneys. That's my first request. The second is that I understand that we have not wanted to put any general fund dollars into this department because it's a state funded department. However, I also want to ask the staff to formally report back as part of the budget hearings what the opportunities are for investment and for reimbursement. And what I understand is that the state has a program where they will have the county spend 34% for a particular position, and then they would get money, a federal grant, but I mean a federal matching grant. And I just don't understand that well enough to know whether or not that's how much money that really is, whether or not the feds really come through. Are the feds source of the resources? So I would really like to know that. And then lastly, I understand what the request we have is for a lead attorney, 5 enforcement attorneys, an establishment attorney, an interstate attorney, and a contempt attorney. And right now, based on the numbers we have, I'm not sure exactly how that how the needs would be met. But what I would like to request of the department chair is to come back to us with what is needed in order to make sure that we're really providing support to the kids. And Director Guerrero, the reason I'm asking this for you of you is I think the board needs the information from you. We need to understand what the state and federal government will or won't pay for, and from Harvey Rose to know what room may already be available in your budget. Because if we're going to ask the county to invest general fund dollars, then I think we need to make sure we have all of that information as fulsomely as we can have it, so the board has an opportunity to weigh in and make a decision about how to proceed.
Happy to follow up with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Chavez. Dr. Smith.
I couldn't resist, since Supervisor Chavez already knows what I'm going to say. You probably read recently that the state has an anticipated surplus of nearly $100 billion. I think that we should put some significant political effort into encouraging them to use some of that windfall for child support services rather than for us to subsidize it, because the subsidy would only mean that there'd be less opportunity for other services to expand or other programs to expand that are dependent upon general fund.
And Dr. Smith, I think that's a good point, and I would add that as a fourth prong, both to a report back from you, but I also think I would be asking our regional and national representative on CSAC to also weigh in, and I will do that through the caucus that I'm a part of, also Supervisor Ellenberg, to raise this as an issue, because I know it's not just impacting us, this is impacting them across the state. So thank you for that. I have another Supervisor Wasserman, and I wanted to go on to B and C, but only if no one else wanted to talk about A.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. On in-home supportive services, I just want to say, you know, this grows every year, and making sure that we have the back of house strength we need to support it. I just want to reinforce that I think we're moving in a good direction, but want to make sure we can speedily respond to make sure people get paid and all of that, because these are really difficult jobs. On under social services, we got a request from the pilot program from the Senior Care Commission on the adult day services portion of their budget, and I wondered if that money is going to be rolled over. And I don't know to ask Greg or Jeff that question. And this is the adult day care services pilot program that actually got stalled because of COVID-19.
Dr. Smith.
And I can speak to this too.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, each year, and in fact, it's throughout the month of May, we encourage all the departments that if they have some one-time funding for projects, pilot projects, things of this nature, that's not going to be fully extended, for them to submit a request for that rollover. And so that way we can bring it to the Board of Supervisors for board consideration in June. At this point, we've got that request out there. I don't know what the amount is that would still be outstanding. Once we get that from the department, we can put that in the rollover package for any one-time funds unexpended to take that to the board.
So my understanding is, so this came to the Children's Family Seniors Committee and was directed to come as part of the budget. So I don't know what else anybody needs to do on this, because we've been kind of talking about it for months. So is there a process?
It is our intention to bring that forward. So that will be in our rollover request.
Okay.
It's just a technical step at this point. It'll show up, you'll see it in June.
June.
Good. Thank you.
You'll see it in June.
Thank you. And I know that there was I don't know, also, if I could just ask the director of the department again, is that inclusive of the expansion of the program, or is that simply the rollover? Because I understand there was also work being done between your department and the group on a slight expansion. I think it was maybe 280,000.
Yeah, it in its totality, we'll be rolling what is left, which is in the neighborhood of just shy of $650 that's underspent this year.
So got it. And so in order for there to be an expansion, this would have to be an action of the board separate. You're not recommending that expansion. Is that right, Bob?
That's correct.
Okay. And is there a reason that is it just had to do with how the tightness of your own budget, or your concern about, did you have any concern about the program itself?
No, I think it really, the budget is tight, and to the extent that this has just struggled to get off the ground, we just didn't want to needlessly tie up money. But if this is something that hits the road going forward, we would certainly, reconsider. I mean, it is a small amount of money. We just didn't want to tie up funds needlessly too, if this didn't, if it continued to struggle to get started.
So, Bob, if it's part of the final budget, if you could put in, and Dr. Smith, I'll ask you this, for the triggers, so that the pilot understands and the public understands what triggers it needs to meet in order to draw down additional resources. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
And also fine. Just transparent. That'd be great.
Yeah,
and Bob, if you've already done that with them, I just hadn't seen it, but if it could be part of the final budget would be great. And then colleagues, I just also wanted to say really to Bob and your team, just how much I've appreciated all of the work that you all did this year. I know it was tough, and I know this is true for all the departments, but I just really wanted to say that you had a lot of folks that were out on the streets right away when COVID hit, and I don't think I'd formally had a chance to say well done and thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And our staff appreciate that too.
Vice President Ellenberg.
Thank you. I want to echo Supervisor Chavez's appreciation, Bob. Your departments really do some of the hardest and most core work for our county residents, and the need has been so extraordinarily high. And team after team in your office has really produced and performed above and beyond in very challenging circumstances. So thank you for that. Supervisor Chavez, I appreciate your confirming that the adult day services money will roll over into the next year and that will show up in the budget. With regard to the additional pilot, the 293,000, my understanding, Bob, is that they are coming to you, the group is coming to you next week with a proposal. So I'm wondering if for the June budget, you'll have had an opportunity to review the proposal, have a sense of its readiness for implementation. And I do think it's so critical for colleagues who may not know about the program. This is the digital inclusion workshop that was formed by our board last year, specifically to bring the issue of digital connectivity and lack thereof to our older adult community. The gaps became extraordinarily apparent when older adults across our county found themselves entirely isolated, whether for socialization, for doctor's appointments, for shopping. Really, I think this group was tremendously impacted to their detriment. And the work group has really done a significant amount of research and communication and interaction, which I think could be a model for others who are trying to solve really complicated issues. I want to just appreciate their diligence and the recommendations that they have made. Bob, could you share with us, please, before the June budget hearings, a report on your assessment of the recommendations presented in the pilot, both on their program and their staffing request, and recommend to us what portion of that and hopefully all of it can be included in the budget, in the final budget?
We absolutely can. And, as you said, we definitely appreciate the challenges that everybody has faced in this time. And this is a great time to be able to address these issues. And it's I'm pleased to see just in general the response to addressing a lot of the digital divide across all of our needy folks.
Yeah, and I would venture to say that there's very likely state and/or federal funding that would cover this pilot because it specifically is addressing digital divide issues, and we know there's a lot of support for that. So when you come back with the report identifying non-general fund sources as alternatives would be very helpful as well.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Ellenberg, did you have more? I don't want to cut you off. Supervisor Lee.
Thank you, President Wasserman. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Yes, good afternoon, Bob. One of the questions I want to ask, well, first of all, I want to echo my colleagues' comment of all the great work you and your team has been doing, and it's truly a huge thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Couple of questions I have regarding, I just want to understand a little bit better, regarding the the bus tokens. Apparently there's an underutilized of these bus tokens from previous years, especially this year with COVID. So we're expecting a reduction of close to what, $375,000 for that, or potentially $500,000. I just want to make sure that we do, in case if this reduction is too much, in other words, if there's an additional need of these tokens and we found out we're running out of it, that you would come back to us so that we could at least get that reauthorized to make sure that people don't run out of bus tokens to commute around. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Access and transit has always been on our radar, and this is our best attempt to right size it. But if we miss the mark on it, we will definitely convey that back to you.
Right, right. And we briefly talk about the VASC. My understanding is that on the budget we have 9 FTEs allocated, but then we also have 2 additional FTEs allocated as well for the technicians to get it working through SSA. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, good, good. Obviously, we want to make sure the computer is working. Otherwise, FASC is not going to work well without the technical issues. So I'm glad we got that staffing code put in. I know the plan is still being finalized. I don't know if there's any new development you could share with us at this point.
Nothing new to share. I mean, it's the project's speeding along, and we have been working hard to help support bringing all the parties together on this. And recently, there's been additional support from the county exec's office to help coordinate that. So I think we're in really good shape, and we're really excited to be part of this great facility.
Great, thank you. And my one last comment, first of all, I want to say thank you for you and our county staff for getting the accurate information for us. When we initially reviewed the SSA's information on the budgeting and staffing details, the specific departments such as DAS, DBS, DFCS, and AO were not separated. And I want to say thank you for able to getting that information back to us in a very timely manner. And I just would like to ask maybe in the future as a recommendation to include that for the specific departments in the future reports, if that's okay.
We're absolutely happy to. We don't want to overwhelm people with information. It's obviously there and underlying it, and we're happy to break that out discreetly for you.
Great. All right. And the last comment I just wanted to make is, again, what Supervisor Chavez has mentioned regarding the issue with the child support services attorneys that is necessary. Going from 11 attorneys down to 3 or 4 is really unacceptable type of cut. And the fact that the state is not putting through the funding that they should have, we definitely need to, as Dr. Smith says, use our political capital. And I will make sure I'll contact my assembly member and my state senator on this issue as well to make sure that those funds do come back because they absolutely are helping our most vulnerable kids. All right, and that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Lee. Seeing no others, direction's been given, and the rest is to review. And we're recommending this budget going forward with the comments made. I would like a motion for that, please. Supervisor Lee?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And with that, Nancy, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Lee,
Aye.
Supervisor Chavez,
Yes.
Supervisor Semidian,
Aye.
Vice President Ellenberg,
Yes.
and President Wasserman.
Yes, thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to item number 22, which has items A through G. Greg, I assume you're walking us through this again. If you'll please do A through D at this time.
Okay. That'll take us through roads. So yes, beginning with the planning and development, the recommended budget for planning and development department is 23 million. And it includes recommended actions to streamline the authentication process, to provide resources for increased customer service, and a restructure of the administrative functions for more streamlining. And for the Parks and Recreation Department, the recommended appropriation is 100.8 million, and it includes actions to purchase fixed assets for operation efficiencies and park safety, It includes the transfer of funds for the preservation of historically significant sites, and it funds their capital projects for the coming fiscal year. For Consumer and Environmental Protection Agency, the recommended appropriation is $69.8 million, and it includes actions to add resources for support to the new Animal Services Center, for increasing oversight and coordination of the Hazardous Materials Compliance Division, as well as oversight and delivery in the Vector Control District programs. And it expands outreach to schools, small businesses, and disadvantaged communities, improving efficiency of surveillance programs. For Roads and Airports Department, for the Roads Fund, the recommended appropriation is $85.8 million. It includes appropriations to implement their capital projects program and to acquire additional road material for road resurfacing projects, for improvements to the road maintenance yard, as well as resources to support traffic engineering and updating signal electrical facilities, as well as tools, equipment, and the inventory for their electrical operations. And for the airport department, the recommended appropriation is $3.1 million, and this maintains the current level budget for the next fiscal year. So I can pause at this point for your request, President Wasserman.
Thank you. Supervisors, any questions for Mr. Ituria on items A through D? See, Supervisor Chavez.
Thank you. The only one I wanted to ask about was an item D. I wanted to just make sure we got an update on the dig once policy prior to budget, even if it was just an update of where we are. And the reason is I do think that's a cost saving opportunity for us. And so I'd like to better understand how that might fit into our future work. Thank you.
Greg, are you available, or do we have a department head?
We'll get your report before the final budget. That's what you asked for?
Just, I wanted to see where there might be opportunities long-term for savings. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from supervisors? Nope. Supervisor Chavez, I'm sorry, your hand's still raised? Not needed? All right. Mr. Ituria, if you'll take us through E, F, and G.
Yes. For the, oh, actually, this last slide was part of, I meant to do this part of roads. A county sanitation district is to maintain the same level of service for next year.
Thank you.
Okay, so go right on to Santa Clara County Central Fire Protection District. And the recommended appropriation is $137.2 million. And this includes one-time allocation of $3.7 million for fixed assets, as well as funding in partnership with Los Altos Hills County Fire District, the procurement of a water tender. And again, for the Los Altos Hills County Fire District, it includes the other side of that partnership for the acquisition of a water tender. And it also includes funding to increase staffing for better serving district needs, and allocating funding for their special programs and projects. Total recommended appropriation of $13.5 million. And for the South Santa Clara County Fire Protection District, the recommended appropriation is $7.1 million. And this includes a one-time allocation of $0.4 million for fixed assets. So that concludes our presentation for the recommended budgets for the fire districts.
Thank you, Mr. Ituria. And again, this includes the County Sanitation District, the Santa Clara County Central Fire, Los Altos Hills County Fire, and South Santa Clara County Fire Districts. Supervisor Simitian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to confirm my understanding with Mr. Ituria and or other staff that the reason the budget does not reflect the pending partnership around what's known as Station 8 is because that is in fact pending, and separate and apart from the budget items that have been submitted in our regular budget process. Yes?
Yes, that is correct. And we are aware that the contracts are being, negotiated between the affected fire departments and districts. And that once the contract negotiations are complete and ready to bring a contract to the Board of Supervisors, if any additional budget augmentation or change is needed at that time, the districts plan to bring it forward at that time.
And is it still our expectation that we'll have that item in time for our first meeting in June, on June the 8th?
That's still our expectation for the first meeting in June.
All right. Is there anyone else on the call who can confirm that? I am anxious that even if it's not yet a part of our budget, that we get this really great partnership pulled together in time for fire season, which is on us even earlier this year.
I can add in a little bit, just operationally. The intention, as I understand it from the fire district, is that there'll be a cooperative arrangement, that the contract is close to being finalized, that it's likely that the county fire district component of the staffing is sufficiently funded already in the budget before you, but if it needs to be augmented or changed in any way, we'll come back to you after the contract is complete. But the project itself is underway and expected to be a cooperative agreement between the parties.
And just to confirm, and I apologize for belaboring the point, but I think this one is so important. There's nothing about the way our budget is structured or the fact that this item is not yet called out that precludes us from moving forward on a timely basis. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Supervisor.
Thank you. Everybody's been great, Dr. Smith. Central Fire has been great. The Los Altos Hills County Fire District's been great. County Council's been wonderful. Palo Alto, everybody's working together to get a really good result that's going to be certainly good for folks in the district, but also have ancillary benefits for surrounding communities. So it's a winner all around. I just am really anxious, as you can tell, that our budget process not incidentally get in the way of moving nimbly when the time comes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had on this.
Thank you. Supervisor Lee.
Thank you. I think Dr. Smith mentioned the very point I want to say is that if there were any additional funds needed for any type of prevention measures that's not been incorporated, I certainly we really want to get back to the board as soon as possible, as we did see that this year is one of the driest year we've had. And that with the fire we've experienced last year, we could imagine the amount of fire hazard we're going to face would be significant. Whether or not we need to do more public safety announcements, or ask people not to barbecue and not to do those things that they're not supposed to do, to any proactive measure to remove the type of dry grass and fields. So if anything that we need, please come back to us, Dr. Smith, and we definitely would want to try to do prevention work than sending firemen out there when it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Supervisor Chavez.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the report. I would really like to get, before our final budget or as part of our budget package, an update on our indoor air safety grant initiative, and just to see where that is in process before we take our final action. Thank you.
Thank you. That was items 20 through 22, A through G, and we have no one from the public who's logged on to speak. Supervisor Chavez, your hand again? No, nope. All righty. So we will consider 22 received. We now move on to item number 23. Receive information related to fiscal year 2021-22 inventory of budget proposals. Dr. Smith, I assume you're starting us off?
If I may, I think this is time certain, for 3 o'clock, no earlier than 3 o'clock. But maybe
no earlier than 3 o'clock. You know, I missed that when that went on there. Okay. Oh, and that means the other items are as well. All right, well, I think let's see here. I think we're going to recess for 45 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm sorry, everybody. I missed that when putting together the agenda. Yes. James or Jeff, unless you see anything different, we are going to.
No, I think it's appropriate for you to recess until 3 o'clock and reconvene.
That's what I'm going to do unless anything else from any other supervisors. All right, Supervisor Simitian.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I know this is always a bit of a mystery for members of the public about if and when to participate in the process and communicate. And I just wanted to let members of the public know, of course, if they want to participate when the time comes, that'll be welcomed by our chair and our entire board. I did want to let people know, however, because there were literally 500 plus emails of support for various projects that came my way, and I gather from the CCs everybody else's way. I actually ended up putting them in a binder so I could keep track of them. And we all process this stuff both digitally and analog, I think. And I want to let people know I have reviewed them. I have looked at the other supervisors' items. I think that while we all took different approaches, I'm going to be comfortable seeing all of them move on to our next board meetings or hearings in June for the budget process. So again, I don't want to deter anyone who would like to share, but I also didn't want people to feel they had to devote their afternoon to waiting for our board to reconvene. And I just figured it would be helpful to share that without getting into the discussion about items that may not be heard earlier than 3 p.m. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. And yes, it's my intention as well to hear all the items under one vote at one time. That was amazing binder you just showed, Supervisor Chavez and Supervisor Simitian. And yes, we did receive all 500 plus emails, and I don't believe a single negative one. So for anyone who's still listening, that's thinking of speaking at 3 o'clock, as Supervisor Simitian said, you're more than welcome to, but it is my intent to receive majority vote to move them forward. That's the action being requested today, is simply moving them forward to the board meeting. And with that, we will recess, and then we will resume at 3 o'clock exactly. All right. See you all then. All right, everybody, it's 3 o'clock. Nancy, I'm going to ask you to take a roll call just to document all everybody that's here.
Okay, Supervisor Lee,
Present.
Supervisor Chavez,
Here.
Supervisor Semidian,
Here.
Vice President Ellenberg,
I'm here.
and President Wasserman.
Here as well. Thank you very much, Nancy. With that, everybody, we're going to start on agenda item 23, receiving information relating to the fiscal year 21-22 inventory of budget proposals. With that, I'm going to turn to you, Dr. Smith.
So before you have all of the inventory items that have been proposed by the board members, collated in a number of ways by district, by inventory number. We are here to answer any questions that you might have. The board obviously has the information they need to make a vote. If you intend to vote in one lump sum, you certainly can do that after you hear public testimony.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith. Supervisor Lee.
Thank you, President Wasserman. This is new to me, so I just want to make sure I'm doing the right things. One thing, first of all, I want to mention that I have a little mea culpa to talk about regarding the items being submitted. One of the items we submitted, we did have a typo on the dollar amount. I just want to raise it up right now.
I'm sorry, you had a title on development? I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, we have a typo on the dollar amount of the funds requested. And that's for budget item number 94 for the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. Currently, as submitted, it says it's requesting for $5,000, but actually it should have been $15,000 as a typo on our part. I just want to apologize and just want to raise that. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other supervisors' hands raised at this time. So, Supervisor Chavez.
Yes, I also want to give an update on, this is on agenda item 165, and it's a grant of $25,000 to the San Jose Jazz for their boombox truck program. They actually requested $80,000 to purchase a new truck, but given the volume of requests we had, we offered to invest $25,000. So what they're recommending or requesting is that instead of using the $25,000 toward buying a new vehicle, because it really does cost $80,000, they'd like to use the $25,000 to rehab, repair, and maintain the current vehicle rather than purchasing a new one. And I thought that was a satisfactory change. So just to update my colleagues.
Thank you. I appreciate that information. With that, we've got a couple of speakers. We'll give them 2 minutes each. We've got 3 speakers. And again, for the speakers and anybody waiting, the action here today is a vote on whether or not to move these inventory items forward. And I'm certainly in favor of moving them all forward in one lump sum. And then that's what the action today is. It's not approval or disapproval of the items. Supervisor Chavez, your hand? No? All right. Let's go, Nancy, instead to 1 minute each.
Okay, give us 1 second here.
Thank you. And again, for the speakers, the action today being voted on is simply to move these forward to a future board meeting to approve or not. And I believe there's support for that. All right, let's start, Nancy.
Okay, our first speaker is Trami Cron. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Much for allowing me this time. My name is Trami Crone. I'm the Executive Director for Chopsticks Valley Art. Our mission is to amplify Southeast Asian art and culture through exhibits, events, and workshops. We serve mainly immigrants, refugees, and low-income families. And I wanted to thank Supervisor Lee for recommending the inventory item number 73 to approve Chopsticks Valley Arts in the amount of $10,000 relating to funding to amplify Southeast Asian art and culture. I really appreciate it, especially in light of the formidable challenge since the rise of discrimination towards Asian Americans. The importance of Chopsticks Valley's work is more critical now than ever before. And I really appreciate you supporting the arts, because arts heals and it also provides some fun for the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Paul Gonzalez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name is Paul J. Gonzalez, and I'll be working on inventory number 71 with the mural at Hellier Park. And we'll be, this is a project working with Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful with Executive Director Deb Kramer. Deb Kramer has been really active within the Coyote Creek and preserving it with cleanups and activities for kids of all ages. And with her activity there, she has connected with the rangers and the staff there. And she had talked about a project that would bring education component, some life, and some beauty to the restroom that many visitors and local residents come and will use. And so we want to focus on the flora and fauna within the Coyote Creek, which is important, and all those ecosystems, especially with the dry season that's coming. We just want to bring awareness to all the people who are local and coming to our area. So I thank you for your time and good day.
Our next speaker is Ramona Juarez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. President Wasserman and members of the Board of Supervisors. It's actually Josh Bruce representing San Jose Spotlight. Ramona's my better half. Anyway, good to be back. As you know, we're San Jose Spotlight. We're Silicon Valley's first nonprofit news organization dedicated to local independent government business reporting. And thank you, Supervisor Lee, for your support in recommending funding as part of your urgent grant program, inventory item number 90, for a community project around transparency. It's part of our core mission to educate citizens and spur civic engagement, ultimately strengthening our democracy. We feel that a great way to do this is by keeping our readers informed when community meetings are taking place, that impact them and their quality of life. With your help, we'll be able to, with our web developer, to build a page and community calendar that lists local civic meetings on our news site, which attracts 500,000 readers a month, such as neighbor association meetings, community developer meetings, city and county commission meetings, school board meetings, and of course.
Our next speaker is Mayra Pelagio. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you, everybody. And I want to give thanks to Supervisor Otto Lee for accepting our proposal for Luna. My name is Mayra Pelagio. I am the Executive Director with Luna, Latinos United for New America. And in the past few months, we had 10 promotoras take a course at UC Berkeley Labor Center, where they learned about tenants' rights and how to defend their rights as tenants. We know that with the moratorium of eviction, a lot of communities are at risk of homelessness. So we want to extend the gratitude to Supervisor Otto Lee for recommending item number 76 for us to obtain some funding and allow our promotoras to provide information to other tenants about their rights. So I urge you all to support the approval of inventory number 76. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And Nancy, before you go on, just for all the people joining on now, just so you can hear me, we're not voting on approval or denial of any inventory item at this time. We're simply voting on whether or not to move these forward to the board, a future board meeting in June, to approve them or deny them. So just wanted to let you know what today is about. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Nicole Altamirano. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Nicole Altamirano, she, her pronouns. I'm CEO of Silicon Valley Pride, and I wanted to extend a thank you to Supervisor Lee for the approval item inventory number 95 for the Silicon Valley Pride Grant. As you know, Silicon Valley Pride promotes and puts together a festival and other programming that to help support the LGBTQ plus community, especially those affected by, especially those that are the most marginalized parts of our community. So this grant is going to really help in those efforts, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much, Supervisor Lee.
Our next speaker is Angie Lopez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angie Lopez, and I am with Somos Mayfair. Let's take us back a year. It was March 16th. The pandemic hit, and our community, who is already in a crisis, their own crisis was amplified due to the pandemic. We needed a crisis response, and our crisis response was a mutual aid that we set up that was called Diamantes. These Diamantes established a red of close to 300 individuals. Sorry, my toddler's in the back.
No problem.
Close to 300 individuals who were able to connect, and with them connecting, they were able to drop each other, food off at each other's houses, take each other to dentist appointments, just do a plethora of things. And we want to keep that going. You know, it was a crisis response, but we really just want to keep it going.
Our next speaker is Daniel Moser. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Moser, president of the Eastside Union High School District Foundation. And on behalf of the foundation, we'd like to thank Supervisor Lee for his support of this request. I'm speaking to inventory item number 54. And as a foundation, we serve the Eastside Union High School District and its 7 feeder district comprised of nearly 82,000 children. Our signature program is the San Jose State, the Spartan Eastside Promise Program. Through the Spartan Eastside Promise Program, any high school graduate CSU eligible is guaranteed admittance to San Jose State University. Key to the students' matriculation and success is a specially designed summer transition program developed by the university and the high school district. Over 4 years, the Spartan Eastside Promise has increased university enrollment to San Jose State by nearly 25% from the high school district.
Our next speaker is Deb Kay. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Deb Kramer. I'm the Executive Director with Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful, and thank you for the time to share our support for the supervisor's recommendation on his urgent grant, Supervisor Lee, for item 71. And this is for the Hellier County Park bathroom mural. The park staff wanted to include more interpretive material in the park to augment the upgraded visitor center and its environs. And signage is one method, but a mural is another. And we'd like to put one up at the bathrooms in the heavily used Cottonwood Lake area. Our organization hosts many regular nature events at this location, so we're familiar with the wildlife in the area. And the mural will offer 3 outcomes benefiting the public in the county. One is education to help people learn what lives in the Coyote Creek Wildlife Corridor. 2 is the beautification, where beauty will be added to these otherwise plain walls. And finally, a cost savings, which will be a deterrent for turf graffiti and help save staff time from abating graffiti from the bathroom. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Salvador Bustamante. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Chava Bustamante. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Latinos United for New America. And I'm calling to first thank Supervisor Lee for recommending Luna to receive a grant for $25,000 to organize around tenants' rights and to prevent evictions. And I'd like to ask the board to vote to move inventory item number 76 for a full vote by the board. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Stuart Richardson. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. Stuart, can you unmute yourself, please? I see that you have unmuted yourself. You may start speaking. Hello, Stuart.
Nancy, let's come back to Stuart.
Sure. Our next speaker is Jose Romero. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Romero. I am a community organizer with Latinos United for a New America. I'm here to support the request to provide Latinos United for New America funds to organize around tenants' rights. We understand that there is still a lot of need. Many vulnerable communities will need support when the moratorium expires. And we want to prevent evictions, and we want to work on this issue. So please support the item 76. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Luna. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors, and thank you, Supervisor Lee, for recommending Luna. My name is Gabriel Manrique, community organizer with Luna, and I want to support moving forward inventory item number 76 to provide Latinos United for a New America with $25,000 to organize around tenants' rights to prevent evictions. Since the pandemic started in March of 2020, I have seen the hardships that working class families have gone through to keep a roof over their heads. Housing still remains a challenge during this pandemic, and many people are at risk of being evicted, especially that the state moratorium is about to end soon. We need to ensure our struggling communities are informed and educated about their rights. Thank you, Board of Supervisors, for your support.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Stefania Diaz. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Stefania Diaz. I work for Community Partnership and will be serving as the Ability to Community if item 25 is approved. I am asking the Board of Supervisors to approve inventory 5 to provide health education and services in collaboration with the Billy DeFrank Center. Research indicates that lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender populations across the United States encounter significant barriers to healthcare. These barriers include, but are not limited to, having difficulty in finding providers who are knowledgeable about their needs, encounter discrimination from insurers or providers, or delay or forgo care because of concerns about how they will be treated, and facing discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. These barriers increase when you include the negative implications that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought on. This partnership will enhance the relationship between community health and the LGBTQ community and allies. I support the recommendation made by Supervisor Susan Ellenberg and hope that you do as well. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Christian Valdez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Christian Valdez. I'm the Development Director for Building Skills Partnership. I want to thank Supervisor Chavez for recommending budget item number 117 to support Building Skills Partnership. We are a statewide nonprofit that partners with the labor union SEIU, USWW, janitorial employers, commercial building owners, and the broader community. Our mission is to improve the quality of life of janitors and other property service workers through comprehensive programming from workforce development, financial capabilities, and other skill development services. As an organization, we've had to respond to the many needs families have faced since the onset of the pandemic. As we look ahead, SEIU USWW represents over 5,000 workers here in Santa Clara County. With this investment, we truly believe we have the opportunity to continue helping many of these workers and their families through what has been effective and proven programming strategies. We'll continue to prioritize providing information, vaccination access, training, and collaboration with our labor management partners, financial stability services. And we understand it is important to be accountable to this type of investment. So we have the data management system infrastructure to report on all the project incomes. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jorge Casas. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Honorable Board of Supervisors, President of the Board, Mike Wasserman. My name is Jorge Casas. I am a member of the Board of Directors for Luna, and I wanted to first thank Supervisor Lee for his support on item number 76 to provide Latinos United for New America with $25,000 to organize around tenants' rights to prevent the evictions. And I also am calling today to support the moving forward of that item. As we all know, the need is real. We are all having discussions with members in the community, and we know that this would be a major win for tenants to have access to those trainings on how to prevent evictions. So thank you very much, Supervisor Lee, and we look forward and hope that this will move forward. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sonia Ramos. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. Sonia, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, we will come back to them. Our next speaker is Gabi Chavez Lopez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hello, Chairman Wasserman and members of the Board of Supervisors. As mentioned, my name is Gabriela Chavez Lopez, and I'm the board president of the Latina Coalition of Silicon Valley, and I'm calling in regarding item number 73. And I would love to provide some context for you for this request. Latina Coalition is an organization that has served our county for over 2 decades and has been focused squarely on solving for economic and political inequities for Latinas in our region. As you know, Latinas have been disproportionately affected by the economic downturn and by the health effects caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. In California alone, 29% of Latinas lost their jobs through May of 2020, compared to 9% of white women, and 1 in 3 undocumented Latinas in California lost their jobs. For these reasons, the Latina voice and perspective will be critical as we continue to recover post-pandemic. The pandemic not only laid bare the inequities for our community, but also the sweat equity that was required to move forward a traditionally all volunteer-led organization like ours forward. What became very clear was that there was a demand and a need for an inaugural staff position to help support the growing work. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Isa Duncan. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Isa Baragan Duncan, and I'm speaking in support of agenda item 48, inventory item 25. Firstly, I'd like to thank Supervisor Ellenberg for recommending this budget item. I'm a community health worker with Community Health Partnership, and as a transgender person, I know the struggle as well as the persistence needed to be seen and understood. Despite having an extremely supportive family and LGBTQ+ knowledgeable healthcare, I still had immense difficulty accessing what I needed. Furthermore, our community has a tremendous need based not only on identity, but compounded by factors like race, income, and neighborhood. As CHWs or community health workers, we aim to bridge the gap between the LGBTQ+ community and appropriate healthcare. CHP is committed to helping our underserved communities and provide healthcare for everyone. Ultimately, LGBT health is community health. Thank you for having me.
Our next speaker is Yurina Guzman. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. Yurina, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, I will come back to her. Our next speaker is Vanessa Hernandez. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. Unfortunately, she is using an older version of Zoom and will not be able to speak. Our next speaker is Gabrielle Antlovich. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
I actually want to speak on 2 items. Can I get a second minute?
No, it's all under one, Gabrielle.
Oh, okay. The first item is item 36. Thank you, Susan Ellenberg, for considering our mural about Billy DeFrank, who was an African-American drag queen. And ever since Black Lives Mattered happened and we had a Black Trans rally outside Billy DeFrank, it no longer felt good to just have Billy DeFrank as a namesake. So we want to include and embrace his spirit of inclusion, love, and generosity, and emulate that as a mural on the building so that people know that it is his spirit we have embraced, not just his name.
Our next speaker is Vanessa Hernandez. I am unmuting you. Oh, and she has an older version of Zoom. And I'm unable to grant her access to speak. Our next speaker is Ursula Hultquist. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Ursula Hultquist. I am the Communications and Development Manager for CASI. I want to thank Supervisor Lee for recommending a grant to CASI, item 72, to support compassionate, school-based mental health services that improve children's social, emotional health and well-being. CASI is a nonprofit agency that partners with public schools in the Bay Area to provide professional mental health services to students. Our therapists are conveniently located on campus and all our services are free to students and to their parents. With CASI, there are no cost, transportation, or insurance barriers to prevent students from seeking mental health support. 20 to 25% of the entire student body will connect with CASI therapists, some once or twice, some every week for years. On behalf of our organization, I would like to thank Supervisor Lee, the County of Santa Clara, for considering CASI, item 72, for this grant. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cassandra Vargas. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
My name is Cassandra Vargas and I'm a first-generation Latina scholar through Hispanic Foundation Silicon Valley. I was raised in a large city of San Jose, California with a family that always struggled financially. I dreamt of helping underrepresented communities who suffer from environmental injustice. I want to conduct air, water, soil pollution remediation underrepresented communities in Silicon Valley. And to pursue this, I am an environmental engineer in UC Riverside, and without the help and support of Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley, I wouldn't have been able to attend this university. Through all support and programs such as Latinx Venture Capitalists, I learned how to network with venture capitalists and knowledge about how to start a business in my near future. I had opportunities to meet NASA Cristina Hernandez, aerospace engineer, and I've had other opportunities to work with girls who code. I highly support a program like Hispanic Foundation Silicon Valley to continue.
Our next speaker is Bao Trio. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Supervisor. This is Bao Chiu. I am the Chairman and CEO for Vivo, the Vietnamese Voluntary Foundation. I would like to thank you, the Supervisor and Supervisor Otto Lee, for recommending for Vivo to get a grant for the program Vivo 112. Vivo 112 is an information and referral program, and Vivo provides two different program, centers, corner help center and a working center for this program. Vivo can help the client to who call in to refer them to other service like ESL class, citizen class, computer class, DMV license, COVID-19 test, vaccine, and also Vivo operate a working center to help them to fill out the forms. And I would like to thank you again, Supervisor Otto Lee, for recommending this program. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Felicia Gershberg. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, this is Felicia Gershberg representing the Unhoused Response Group.
And we just want to say a quick thank you to the board and especially Supervisor Lee for this funding opportunity for our grassroots effort to get COVID information, hygiene items, and other critical supplies to our unhoused neighbors during the pandemic and beyond. Thanks so much.
Our next speaker is Andrea Fromm. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, President Wasserman, Board of Supervisors. My name is Andrea Fraume, and I am the Leadership Academy Program Director with Green Foothills. I want to first thank Supervisor Chavez and Supervisor Lee for recommending items 85 and 173 respectively to fund the Community Advocates Leadership Academy. From Green Foothills, we have trained 200 individuals today to be more effective and collaborative advocates for the environment and equity. As an alumni myself from the program, I can attest to its efficacy, not just at building advocates knowledge about basic civic involvement, but also to build their, oh my goodness, I forgot the word.
No worries.
Our next speaker is Quinn Wong. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Quinn Vong, Executive Director of ICANN. I would like to thank Supervisor Chavez and Supervisor Lee for supporting our project to launch a media campaign to combat the misinformation and promote community dialogues on critical issues facing the community today. It is number 1, vaccination readiness, which is low. Number 2, hate crimes and all the discrimination going on. And number 3, the mental health, which is skyrocketing right now. So thank you so much for your vision and leadership. And our item is number 162. So I hope that all the supervisors will vote yes to support our program, which is much needed because the Vietnamese people got hit hard by COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And again, everyone, we're not voting yes or no on these items, just to move these forward today.
Our next speaker is Irvish. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you, Board of Supervisors, for allowing the opportunity to speak. I wanted to mention about the items for the inventory logic. I think most of the inventory budget of proposals, they are associated with the nonprofit organization as well as the community development, as well as expanding the services for the LGBTQ community centers, as well as the nonprofit organization of a Goodwill, as well as West Valley community. Moreover, there are also COVID-19 projects that are included as a part of agenda item within the inventory budget as well. Certainly, I want to mention that all the inventory budget items, it's required to be approved with the specific significance benefited to the respective organization based upon the aim of the projects.
Our next speaker is Shireen Swan. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, supervisors, and thank you, Supervisor Lee, for recommending Elevate Community Center, item number 55. My name is Shireen Shong. I'm the Executive Director of Elevate Community Center. Elevate provides financial literacy education and legal services for low-income and justice-involved people. This funding will allow us to begin providing criminal record expungement services to people who have completed terms of their sentencing and who have stayed out of trouble for a statutorily required amount of time. An expunged conviction cannot be used as a factor to deny housing or employment applications, and this service will remove barriers to employment, lead to higher earning potential. Parents who can obtain higher paying jobs and stable housing are also more likely to provide secure homes for their children. Thank you all for your consideration.
Our next speaker is Alpana Squarwal. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Alpana Agarwal from Helping Hands, Silicon Valley. First, thank you, Supervisor Lee, for recommending item number 65, Illuminate the Valley. Those who live outdoors need torches, etc., for lighting and safety purposes. But the unfortunate consequence is that it adds thousands of batteries to the landfill every year. And they have no way of easily, safely disposing of the batteries. So we are proposing to provide solar-powered lanterns that are long-lasting and will eliminate the battery wastage. Please consider supporting our item number 65. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carolyn Tran. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you. My name is Carolyn Tran. I'm in public relations with ACWP, Aid to Children Without Parents, Bloom Catering. Back in 2020, sometime in March, instead of shutting down the banquet hall, we decided to get all volunteers to cook and deliver food to the senior citizens and the homeless and essential workers, the hospital workers, and the kids at the juvenile hall here in Santa Clara. And at this point, as we are getting out of the pandemic, I still feel that we should still give them the emotional support simply because of what we're going through. At this point, I feel like our senior citizens need to have a place to go to so that they can be together, to have some emotional support from health, just professional speakers, advisors, so that they could be getting back to the sense of community and just how we were before the pandemic. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask for item number 40 to be moved forward. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rosario Aguirre. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. Rosario, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, we will come back to her. Our next speaker is Melissa Canela. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Canela. I am the Education Programs Manager for the Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley, and I am here to speak about inventory item 125 for the amount of $75,000. I want to thank Supervisor Chavez and Supervisor Lee for supporting us here. These funds specifically address our need for parent education programs, as well as math programs for our families, specifically in East San Jose, throughout Santa Clara County as a whole. We understand that there is a crucial need for parent leadership, parent engagement services and programs so that our parents can better support all of our first generation Latinx students in school so they can work together for the better of their future at college and beyond. So I would appreciate your continued support and funding for our programs at Hispanic Foundation and for the Latinx community of Santa Clara County. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Rose. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Rose Gregorio. I'm a registered nurse and I'm a longtime volunteer at Amory, now Home First. I'm supporting item 65 with Alpana is running. It's Helping Hands. And I've known Alpana for a long time. We've been giving survival needs for our unhoused for Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, and even in Santa Cruz. We've been giving meals and we've been helping our unhoused get their driver's license when they expire so they can get their stimulus. We assist them so they can get Social Security when they cannot find a card. We also give them, refer them to downtown street team. Since I know most of the people with homeless in Home First, because I've been a long time volunteer. So I refer them to downtown street team so they can get help themselves and get off being homeless. And I have helped several people already. And I really support Alpana with her project because we have helped so many unhoused people with their tent and everything. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Todd Langton. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Yes, my name is Todd Langton. Thank you, Board of Supervisors, for being so proactive in helping those in need. Thank you, Supervisor Otto Lee. I'm the co-founder of Agape Silicon Valley. Agape in Greek means unconditional love. We have been, this past year, nonstop going out and serving the unhoused, the homeless, in ways of water, food, clothing, stimulus, helping them with their stimulus checks, CalFresh food stamps, helping them get ID. But a big emphasis on hygiene kits. And as I've been out there, I've noticed that there's a big shortage. I would say every camp and every person that we meet does not have a first aid kit or a fire extinguisher. Corey Court, as we know, caught fire this last week. Huge need. Really appreciate your support on item number 39 to help the unhoused and Agape Silicon Valley, help them to accomplish their goals. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Salaya. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Salaya. I am the founder and the CEO of New Beginnings Family Services. I just want to thank the board members for allowing me this opportunity to even, have a consideration for funding for New Beginnings. I also want to thank Cindy Chavez personally for putting up item 154 to be approved. And I just want to tell you a little bit about our services. We bridge the gap of the lack of services in Santa Clara County when it comes to the legal justice system, DFCS, and family court. And what we've been doing the last 2 years is keeping families together with informative information, also with legal educational workshops, and providing the families peer-to-peer support in the community and community-based programs. And we hope that we'll be able to continue to do this further in the future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gabriela Berumen. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Gabriela Berumen and I work at Building Skills Partnership, where I oversee the Financial Capability Program. I'm asking for your support for item number 117. As you know, this past year has taken a significant toll on our community, and the janitors that we serve continue to be at the front lines of the COVID pandemic, ensuring that our spaces are safe enough to reopen, while also worrying about the financial stability of their families. Our free tax preparation program has provided a big sense of relief to our clients by being able to access their tax refunds and federal and state stimulus checks. These additional funds would help BSP help the community claim their reimbursements and begin taking steps towards recovering financially. I thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is LGK40. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. LGK40, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, we'll come back to them. Next speaker is Stuart Richardson. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you, Board of Supervisors. I'm Stuart Richardson, Director of Development with Midtown Family Services in San Jose. Midtown's Homeward Bound program provides housing to men and women returning to the community from incarceration. So we use state funds to provide the housing and case management. We work with community partners to meet needs for job training and education, transportation, and other needs. But there are incidental needs that neither we nor the partners that we have can meet. And so we are requesting $15,000 to meet those incidental needs. They can be things like eyeglasses or hearing aids, truck driving licenses, or school fees. And we thank Supervisor Lee for moving this forward for us. Thank you.
And we are back to Rosario Aguirre. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hello, my name is Rosario Aguirre. I am a member of Luna and I want to support the approval of inventory item number 76 to grant Latinos Unidos por una Nueva América 2,500 to organize about tenants' rights and prevent evictions.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is LGK40. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 1 minute to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. LG, can you unmute yourself? Okay, we don't seem to have much luck there, and that is our final speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, Nancy, and thank you to everyone that spoke. I'll now turn to my fellow supervisors. As I expressed earlier, I'm fine with a motion moving all of these forward.
Supervisor Wasserman, forgive me, this is Supervisors Committee and having some minor technical difficulty. Could you repeat your last statement, sir?
Thank you. What I was saying was, as I said previously, I'm fine with moving these items forward to the board as a whole. If there's any comments or questions, I'll entertain those right now.
I'm happy to offer a motion to move these items forward for consideration and formal action at our budget hearings in June, if this is the appropriate time and motion. And again, I'm sorry, it's cutting in and out a little on me here. I apologize.
No problem at all. And that was a second by Supervisor Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. We've got a first and a second. What I would like to say is, while many of the proposals are aligned with county goals, such as meals for hungry kids and mobile health clinics, I feel these should be part of the county exec's recommended budget rather than one-time grants or sponsorships. When I started on this board more than 10 years ago, the inventory item process was largely reserved for internal county departmental funding. An example of this was funding to ensure the rural deputy position in South County wasn't cut. What we have today seems to be more closely resembling a grant program where CBOs who are in the know ask for extra funds. And I know we've talked about this in one form or another over the last couple of years. It's no secret I've advocated for years for a public budgeting process with very defined limitations. For these reasons, I've not proposed any inventory items this year, but have and will continue to make a few small donations from my office holder account and Object 2 office budget account. And that's all I've got to say. Does anybody else have anything else they wish to add? Otherwise, we have a motion, a second. Dr. Smith?
When you get done with your motion, I just wanted to say something before you adjourn.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And for everybody listening, the motion is to move forward items 24, agenda items 24 through 175, which are inventory items 1 through 167. And Dr. Smith, I'm sorry, did you want to comment before or after the vote?
After the vote, just before you adjourn.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, Nancy, a roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Lee?
Aye.
Supervisor Chavez?
Yes.
Supervisor Simidian?
Aye.
Vice President Ellenberg?
Yes.
And President Wasserman?
Yes. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Dr. Smith?
Just before the board adjourns, I wanted to ask your consideration for a schedule change during the budget hearings. Currently, we're scheduled for 3 days in June, starting on the 14th at 10 o'clock, going basically all afternoon. Then on the 15th, starting at 1:30, going until 8. And on the 16th, starting at 1:30, going until 8. I think that, well, because of Juneteenth this year, we don't have our typical return on the Friday after budget hearings. And so we're anticipating doing the final action on Thursday, the 16th. So I would think, and it's obviously totally up to the board, that we probably can do all of the reports back on Monday and Tuesday. And we probably don't need to start at 10 o'clock on Monday. And then have a very short meeting on Thursday because we'll have everything completed on Wednesday. So you might want to rethink the agenda
If it's all
timing.
right with the board members, let's talk about this for a minute. Dr. Smith, I see on my calendar, June 14th, 10 to 3, the 15th, 1:30 to 5, and the 17th, 1:30 to 5. Is that what you just said?
I think on the tentative schedule, the clerk has the 14th from 10 till 5.
Okay, I will correct my calendar. And on the
Well, I'm
15th,
saying we probably don't need to be there at 10. Probably 1:30 is fine.
okay, but just to clarify what we currently have, but I'm sure the other supervisors have correct, I just had a mistake. On the 14th, 10 to 5, the 15th, I show 1:30 to 5. What do you have, doctor?
It's reserved on the clerk's schedule from 1:30 until 8.
All right. And on the 17th, what is reserved on the clerk's schedule?
17th is Juneteenth. So it's a holiday.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think the county executive misspoke a moment ago when he said Thursday, the 16th, when he perhaps meant Thursday, the 17th. It strikes me this is getting a little challenging in a hurry. May I suggest that we simply ask you as our chair to work with the county executive and come back to us with a set of proposals? I thank you, Supervisor Chavez, for that double thumbs up. I just think trying to do a doodle poll with 6 individuals is probably a challenging proposition today.
No doodling going on here. Dr. Smith, will you and I will confer
fine.
and toss that out. And the dates that we're using are the 14th, 15th, and 17th, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then you and I will talk about what we can get done on the 14th and 15th.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Simidian. Excellent idea. And that, let me just turn to page 19 here on my agenda. Brings us to adjournment unless anybody else has anything else. Seeing no hands, I wish you all a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And this meeting is actually adjourned, I believe, rather than recessed. Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The webinar will now close.